Travis Wingood's though. Looks like I might have a potential breakout, unless YouTube Mormon employees find out about it. Slow it down. LDS Utah priestcraft spreads desolating sickness. How Russell M. Nelson is responsible for the increase in Mormon deaths. As a Mormon born and raised, I wasn't in Utah. I was in California. So I had to rely on just the scriptures and my parents' LDS library. And so I found lots of stuff on Joseph Smith. And so I was raised up thinking that we were the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints of Joseph Smith. Come to find out, when I moved to Utah, that nobody likes me, everybody hates me. Why don't I just go back to where I came from? It was mostly because Mormons were upset that I became a translator. And you'd think that because I show that Joseph Smith was right, that Mormons would be all like, wow, that's awesome, I'm telling everybody about it. Nope. Mormons want me dead. And so, things that I've noticed is that the Mormon God changes depending on whether you live in Utah or whether you live outside of Utah. Utahns have been branching out, though. Many have gone to California and spreading the Utah Mormonism there. So it's no longer the same. But it's expected that if Mormons in south of the border, for example, or anywhere that has the revised footnoting system with the Guide to the Scriptures, if you actually use the footnoting in your study, you should occasionally pick up a number of changes that regular Utah English-speaking Mormons will not find, and it looks like maybe never find, unless they go to a foreign language mission and get the foreign language scriptures and do their study with the footnotes. Because, I've told you about how I was involved in that, and I was so fast and so amazing that I got promoted, I guess you can say, to the top committee, where we did half of the scriptures, reviewing what had been done. So I wasn't able to get everything changed, but there was enough that would have gotten through that would have helped you out better than the English speakers would. Because English speakers will look at them and go, why is this connected to this other passage? I don't even see the same word. That's how bad it was. But studying church history and finding out the changes that took over the church, we went from no polygamy under Joseph Smith to polygamy under Brigham Young. Now all of a sudden the Mormon God changes and says, oh, okay, polygamy now. And racism. Joseph Smith gave the priesthood temple blessings to blacks. Brigham Young took it away. Joseph Smith gave the priesthood and offices in Relief Society to the women. Brigham Young took it away. But no, it's not Brigham Young, Travis. It's God. It was God's will. Yeah, that's what Wilford Woodruff said. There were Mormons who said, we're sticking with polygamy. You know, they'd completely forgotten about Joseph Smith not practicing polygamy. But Mormon God has been changing over and over and over again. You know, they were saying that blacks would never have the priesthood before 1978. And then 1978 happens, and Mormons are like, huh? I thought God said that blacks were never going to have the priesthood. Why are they having the priesthood? I was only 8 years old when I was lying on my mom's lap during conference when it was announced. Everybody in the audience was all like shocked, doing the whispers and shocked sounds. And I woke up, got up, looked around. What happened? What's going on? I had just been baptized in March. I remember being frustrated because we had to wait for this converted family. So I was last. But I mean, it's just, it never made sense having a Mormon God that keeps changing his mind, and for serious things too. I mean, whether blacks can have the priesthood, whether women should have the priesthood, whether women should be acknowledged as independent agents rather than slaves to their husband. I went through the temple when it was obey your husband, and so when 91 came along, hearken unto the counsel of your husband, as he hearkens unto the counsel of the Father. And then now under Nelson, nah, don't obey your husband, but we got you under the law of chastity, because now it's according to the law of, or the God's law of marriage. And that's one of the changes that Brigham Young made, and they're not going back to Joseph Smith, so that means that they're referring to Brigham Young's law of marriage, which is polygamy. So they pulled a fast one on the women. So it's so frustrating with this virus, as Nelson keeps pulling the same pranks on Mormons. You know, oh, virus has taken away our agency, you know, wearing masks, oh, we need to have our agency. This is horrible. We're going to have digital conference again, and we're ordering all Mormons to wear masks. And if God changed his mind again, wasn't the fast God's will to cure coronavirus? I mean, I spent my whole life only pursuing Joseph Smith. Came to love the guy. My sarcasm comes from him. My boldness comes from him. My desire to pursue translation of the ancient languages came from him. And I joke about him giving me the key of translation, since the Brigham Young had wanted nothing to do with it. Not a single president of the church claims the key of translation. Go back to all the conferences where we do the sustaining vote instead of the vote separated from the sustaining, which was supposed to be the way it was. What Brigham Young didn't want it that way, because that means he may not have been the guy. could have been Sidney Rigdon. Can't have that. I've got to be the ruler. I've got to elevate myself. And so, yeah, I found the document where Joseph Smith chastises Brigham Young for his wanting to elevate himself. Calls him out for his pride. And then when he again comes back the next year, says he does his Last Supper rendition and says, there are those among you who want me dead, and you will say, is it I? Is it I? Of course, Brigham Young made those documents silent. Didn't have them published in his Doctrine and Covenants. So, not too many people are interested in translation, though. I did no Mormon knows day or hour of coming of Christ, but John the Revelator. And technically Isaiah, and technically Matthew, even though Matthew's the cause of nobody knows. Well, why did you give us the date then if nobody knows? It's just... I mean, now Nelson is literally practicing priestcraft. He wants money for the organization and has little to no interest in supporting the general welfare of the church. As people are sick, as people are dying, as people are unemployed and will become sick and dying, going to the streets, and he just sits and does nothing. Lives in his mansion. Because, he was a heart surgeon. They make a lot of money. So, yeah, he's got a house out in Bountiful, where Irene is, with his mansion. And I understand doctors have mansions. My grandfather, my mom's father, was a dentist. And he had a mansion. His secretary, however, did the insurance paperwork for him and forgot to put my grandmother on the insurance. And so when she died, he lost everything because he didn't get any money to pay for the funeral or any of that. And so that one little error came back to haunt him later on. My grandma wasn't even supposed to live. She was born with a heart that was too small and wasn't expected to live long. She lived until I think I was 12 years old. I still remember it. We sat on the front row in the chapel. It was the LDS chapel, of course. And it was over to facing the pulpit. It was over on the left on that front row there. My aunts were sitting behind us, and I looked back and saw them crying, and that's when it hit me, and I started to shed a tear. But yeah, I mean, to have a religion and then to find out that you've been betrayed by your religion, I mean, that's beyond sucking. So, just, if the church has to change, it's not the right church. Because ordained women keep trying to get the church to change, and when the church pretends to change for them by giving them meeting roles, they get to go to meetings and give their opinions. Women get to wear slacks. Missionaries get to wear slacks. Eve gets a bigger speaking role in the temple endowment ceremony. But then they go and set up a screw directive with the law of chastity, allowing for polygamy again, and the protect LDS children had to change for them because they lost in court to silence people's recordings, or in the legislature rather. Just so many people, and I saw commercials on MSNBC for those who have been sexually abused in the church, a hotline for legal services, and then I saw it switch over to the Boy Scouts. The Boy Scouts then said, if you were abused as a Boy Scout, the Boy Scouts are doing the right thing, even though it wasn't them that was responsible. It was the church. They supplied not only the sexual predators as the scoutmasters, but they supplied the boys for the slaughter. And then the church just bails. See ya! We're following the Boy Scout motto, or the oath, or anything in the Boy Scouts. They just didn't even care. There he is. He's finally moved. Amazon's got a package coming. I guess the car broke down across the street behind the school. So I'm going to go.